Coming up, the Prime Minister opens the Bahamas office in Switzerland, saying we must interface with the many United Nations funding agencies there. And the president of BTC's line staff union says the wait on the company's expected redundancy exercise has employees in limbo. The Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition, starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The Bahamas making a significant step on the international scene. Good evening, everyone. I'm LaDawn Davis, and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. Thanks so much for tuning in. Topping the news tonight, the country's permanent mission office to the United Nations and other international organizations is now open in Geneva, Switzerland. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie says our mandate makes it imperative to interface with the many UN and funding agencies in Switzerland. Mr. Christie says the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, the Honorable Fred Mitchell, recently addressed the high-level segment of the 28th session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva. The Minister of Labor also traveled to Switzerland to advance the rights of workers and employees in the Bahamas. And the Minister of Financial Services, Hope Strawn, who heads the lead agency to accelerate efforts towards the Bahamas membership in the World Trade Organization, was also in Switzerland. Meantime, the ambassador and permanent representative to the UN and international organizations in Geneva, Her Excellency Rhoda Jackson, notes the importance of this move towards WTO levels.
Applied in 2002. It's a process, and I recall when I first arrived in Geneva 2 years ago, I had meetings with the director of the sessions, and he said, don't feel that you are lagging behind, because it is a process, and it's better to have all the ducks lined up in a row than to move ahead quickly and then you find that you are shot down by other persons who are asking serious questions. What are you doing with respect to trade and services? What are you doing with lowering tariffs? So I think we're being very wise in terms of taking our time before we actually move ahead rather quickly. We're in the process of finalizing the necessary documentation that needs to be submitted so that the working party, that is those countries that have a keen interest in our membership, so that they can begin to look at our procedures, our laws, our regulations, and begin to see how they themselves can benefit, but also for us, it provides us with an opportunity to see how we can benefit from our trade, particularly trade and services in those countries.
Now, Jackson is also encouraging Bahamian students to consider studies to advance the country's presence on the global stage.
I want to encourage Bahamians, wherever they are, especially young Bahamians, to while they're in school, learn as much as they can and think globally. Do not just think of the Bahamas. That's only a small part of the world, and we are part of a sub-region, CARICOM, and an even larger region, the group of Latin American and Caribbean. We have to think beyond our borders and prepare ourselves, equip ourselves to be players on an international stage. And I'd like to encourage them, international relations, trade, and language. I studied French and Spanish, two languages now that are so very important for international relations.
The president of the line staff union representing employees at the Bahamas Telecommunications Company says the redundancy exercise by the company has caused more damage than good of a telecommunications giant. The exercise, which has been lingering for quite some time, has BTC employees in limbo awaiting their fate, as the company has plans to cut as many as 150 jobs. And according to president of the union, there's not much left for them to do other than wait and hope for the best. Here's Clint Watson.
Redundancy exercise at the Bahamas Telecommunications Company continues to experience significant challenges, much to the displeasure of President of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, Bernard Evans.
This has been the most painful, disgusting, poor exercise. The morale of the staff. It's like you having the hangman's noose hanging outside the window and everybody's just watching it. Don't know when they're going to pull the gallows.
Evans describes it as a very sad exercise, and despite the union's cooperation, in his view, to not strike, even though they have spoken to management as recent as Thursday, they still don't have answers.
To act responsibly, you know of the disruption we have had trying to bring to bear our concerns. We stayed sick outs. Everything short of just strike, because we can't frustrate the public. We know we have a duty to continue to provide service. But at the same time, they're taking advantage of our good nature. And why we just sit there? I mean, it's almost shameful that in this time of the year, in this time in this country where there aren't jobs available, for people to just be sitting around the table and sending out rumors that there are lists going on and this one is going and that one is staying. I mean, it's just sad. It's a very, very terrible time to be an employee at BTC.
The BCPOU president says the present situation now has its members in limbo with banks and other financial institutions.
The banks have put everybody on notice. You can't even do a transaction with the bank because the bank don't know, what's happening with you and your future. But hopefully, with God's help, next week we'll have all this behind us. The union would like to see that they made a mistake, that everybody is short-handed right now, that everybody needs to stay on the job and keep the jobs. Families have made commitments, whether it's mortgage or have the kids in school or whatever it is. But the company says it's a capitalist society, and the profit at the end of the day and their bonuses is what matters to them most.
Evans says they're resolved to leaving the matter in God's hands, hoping that in the end, all will be well. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Well, we caught up with BTC CEO Leon Williams today while at the company's annual blood drive to get his views on BCPOU's President Bernard Evans' statements, but he declined to comment. Now, ZNS News understands that all unions representing BTC employees, along with BTC executives, met with Director of Labor Robert Farquharson earlier this year, where all parties agreed not to discuss negotiations publicly in the media. And that 9th annual BTC blood drive at the Mall at Marathon was held in conjunction with the Princess Margaret and Doctors Hospitals, as well as the Bahamas Red Cross, under the theme, "Thank you for saving my life." Over the past 8 years, BTC has facilitated the collection of more than 3,000 pints of blood for the blood bank. Today's goal, a minimum of 275 pints.
80% of the times, our hospitals are short on blood. We always tell people, you don't know when you are going to need, or you don't know when a relative or friend's going to need.
On a given day, it is almost impossible for us to predict the volume of blood that we have present in our blood banks.
It's the lifeblood of the community, especially when we look around nowadays with all of the crime, etc., with the murders, accidents, etc. There is an urgent need for blood to be coming in on an ongoing basis.
Go to the doctor. Let's do our checkups. And particularly for those who qualify, let's do the blood donation.
And still to come, hundreds flock to Andros for the annual Crab Fest. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition.